All right, in this episode of Throttle Stop Garage, we're going to have a look at how we make a wood rim steering wheel. Stay tuned. All right, so the subject of today's effort is making my own steering wheel. Why? I don't know why. I could buy a steering wheel. In fact, I bought a steering wheel. In fact, I built a steering wheel before. But I sort of wanted something special for this car, so we're going to go ahead and make our own steering wheel. I'm not going to do the wood on this. I normally even do the wood on them, but I've got another person who's going to do the wood for me. At any rate, I drew it up. Again, little CAD work. And then I sent it off for water jet cutting, and they did it all wrong. So this is great. We actually have content. I thought it was going to be a quick little snippet of a video. And I've driven several hundred kilometers to arrive at a different garage with also Volvo Canadian /Amazon /122 presence. So that's great. We're here at my buddy Matt's place. Hi, Matt. All right, so he's the one I blame for so many things. But anyway, so if I blame people on my channel,
mutual.
It's normally just Matt. The one thing I'm not going to do is a horn push. So this is a horn push off of an 1800. A P1800 actually, it's an early car, these ones, and they're available in the aftermarket, and I think they look pretty neat. So the idea is to mount that horn push onto this steering wheel, and this normally on the car it comes with sits on a Great Big Boss. I don't have the Great Big Boss, and they don't sell the Great Big Boss, so I had some parts made. So conceptually what I thought was, well, I'll do it out of stainless steel. I cut out of a 1/2-inch plate of stainless steel, and then I drew the hole in the middle. This is what they missed. So I drew the hole in the middle for clearance for this particular stainless plate here, so that everything would fit in nice. The water jet guys didn't cut my hole in the middle. That's a pretty significant problem. Then the steering wheel, you can see on the push or the adapter plate, I have two very small holes. Right, so those two little small holes were supposed to be water jet cut on this particular plate. And there was supposed to be a hole in the middle for the horn button to fit in. Nothing there. Okay. Sometimes the water jet cut, it's the first time this guy's actually made a mistake. I might email him about it, and I might just live a nice life. All right, with that, enough talking. Let's get some machining done.
Don't worry, this is just from a long time ago. I think it was actually 2018 when I started this particular project. And I just going back through the archives of stuff that I haven't shown yet, I need to get out of the way. So making that adapter, just get the drills out, keep punching it through until you don't have a big enough drill. And then you're going to go in and you're going to bore that interior size until, well, at least the calipers tell you that it's right. So that was a good deal of fun. Anyway, then trying to put that radius on. Good entertainment here as well. For me, I haven't done the old two-hand wobble trick on the lathe to run that cross slide in a long time, but I got the shape that I wanted, and really, what else matters? I don't care how you get it done. I just care that you get it done. And this is just a bit of fun, right? This is again, whenever I'm sort of going on the bigger pieces of the project, it's not like I'm not working on the smaller pieces at the same time. I spend an inordinate amount of time going through little details here and there just to try to get it all figured out. All right, that last hole just going into the center of the steering wheel. Hey, now we can get a horn push that works. What do you know?
And we're ready to get the rest of the machining done on the wheel. So yesterday we made some big strides towards getting that done. We got the adapter built. Super happy with the way the adapter actually finished up. So we got the bore machined. We were right on size with that, so I was reasonably pleased with that. And we just went down to 400 grit with this. When we were trying to do the radius, I was going for sort of an elliptical radius here. And I did it by hand, and pretty happy with the way it turned out. So that piece is essentially done. Now we have to find a way to get that part and this part to sit together, and there's no room for fasteners. I can't bolt it in on the bottom. I have to bolt the steering wheel onto the hub adapter. The horn button has to go in, and then this part has to get fitted on. So that's our next challenge. Two little holes there. They're meant to take spring pins Right, so we got some spring pins here. They'll go on the back side of this part, of course. They'll, I'll tap them into those holes, and then they'll sit into a set of drilled holes that are on the steering wheel. And the hope is that those 2 spring pins are going to be sufficient to hold that in normal driving. Of course, if it's not, I'm not offended by having to put a little bit of RTD, a little bit of silicone on the back of that to back the pins up if it rattles or vibrates or does something else annoying. Now, originally on my drawing, of course, I'd drawn those holes the same way I'd drawn this hole. And for whatever reason, WaterJet guy, he didn't have those ones programmed up. And I even sent them a screen capture of what the finished thing is supposed to look like. So I'm going to use these 2 holes as a drill guide. We'll go over to the drill press once we've got this clamped in place. We'll use it as a drill guide. We'll spot those holes on a drill press, drill them home. And then the machining part's done, and it'll just be around to finishing. So from the finishing again, I'm just trying out a few things. I originally wanted the wheel polished. I think it's going to look a little hot rod, so I think I'm not going to do it. I don't mind brushed stainless steel, but I don't want it as a coarse brush. I want it as a fine brush. So I'm going to play with it. And the biggest issue is these edges, the edges that are left behind by the WaterJet. So of course the WaterJet's got an abrasive in it, so it's not just water, it's water plus whatever the abrasive is that they use. And it leaves a bit of texture on this. Okay, so to take that off, I want that all removed. Okay, whatever happens, this has to be a sanded, it's got to be a polishable surface for me to be happy with it. And especially things like inside the spokes, I may want to cut a small radius. I don't want these left sharp, right? So there's going to have to be a little bit of handwork. To be honest, the easiest way to do this on most of these scenarios is the good old-fashioned file. It's hard enough to cut stainless steel. I can get that filed in. It probably won't take me any more than a half an hour to get it at least flattened first. And then I'll worry about radii. And one of the advantages of the giant sanding machine is I can brush something like this in seconds, and I'll show you that. When I've made headers and other stainless steel parts in the past, that thing puts a finish on this stuff lickety-split. Just zip zip on the outside and it'll be done. Also, by the way, I did request that the guys put some film on the material to try to not have any damage, but at the end of the day, you can specify things all you want, people still don't do what you want. They went and took a dual action sander and just buffed this surface. Now I know that's just to lightly deburr it for me, but it's left a very fine, odd swirly scratch everywhere on this. And in order to get it brushed, I need to remove every single one of those little swirly scratches. Again, thankfully the big sander will take care of those quickly, but another example, I appreciate it, but a bit of a fail there. Right, I'm fussy. So I'll quit being fussy, and I'm going to start getting some work done on this today. Okay, with the insides of the wheel all done now, we're going to go over to the belt sander, which I put a blue non-woven fabric belt on. So it's these are 3M products. They actually work pretty good. It's a little bit tight on this machine, especially when it's cold. So we'll have to spin it up by hand and then get it to go. And this thing can put a brush on stainless steel in seconds. Anyway, so it's not going to take long. The blue is finer than the maroon. Let's spin it up and get this part done. it is done. So all I was trying to do there on the back side of the wheel actually was get rid of the little curly cues. You won't be able to see these, but a little sanding mark left in by that dual action sander, and just get the brush mark all consistent. It's the back side of the wheel. This is the front side of the wheel, so it'll be fine. I also just roughed up that edge because when the wood gets epoxied on, it needs to have a nice place to sit. Actually, now I notice that a little inconsistency in my grind there, so one more time. You saw the machine part before, and now you can see the wood part. So the wood's all laid in. It's a very nice laminated wheel, so mahogany on the outside, an ebony inlay, which is absolutely gorgeous. I'll try to get this focus a little bit better for you there, but woo, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Now, the one issue I have at this point, before we carry on to finishing, and we're never going to get all of that done today, as I recognize my airline is in the field of view. Up she goes into the ceiling. When he did the wood, what happened? Oh, it's not a problem. It's sort of the way it gets done, but there's, the metal rim is exposed on the inside. This, of course, stainless steel, and it's a little proud of the wood. It's got a gorgeous old school cross section that I just love. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's got this really nice sort of swoopy cross section. Wood guy says I think this is an alpha style wheel, so it's just, I've restored wheels that look kind of like that with that profile, and that's sort of what I wanted. It fits my hand nicely. I've got big farmer hands. No offense to the farmer, that's a gift, I'll tell you, except when you go working with small stuff. But anyway, it fits your hand nicely, right? The wheel does. And the way that's laying out in the car, I think that's going to be just fantastic. Nice place to put the thumbs and all that. But I'll tell you what I know about making wood wheels, and it's just a little bit, I don't know much about it. I've only built about 4. But if there's any flaw on the wheel, you're going to sit playing with it as you're driving down the road. I mean, I live in Canada, I live on the prairies. It's epic miles of nothing. So you sit there driving along and you're going to play with it, right? Your finger's going to go to a little imperfection or something, at least mine will, and I'll sit there goofing around with it, touching it, playing it, chipping away at it. You don't want to do that. So I'm going to go carefully, and now the wood, mahogany, the reason mahogany is one of the premier cabinet making woods is it's stable, so it doesn't move, which is super important when you're mixing materials. And secondly, it's very easy to work with hand tools. So back in the day, I mean, it's beautiful. You could get nerdy about wood all day long, but that's not the point of this channel. We're building cars. But as we look at it, so it's diffuse porous, so it doesn't have a strong grain, which is gorgeous, but it's also soft. So back in the day, it was reasonably easy to work with hand tools, except for the fact that it does have a bit of silica in its grain structure, which can dull tools pretty easily, but everyone who works with mahogany knows that, and they just sharpen their tools a lot. Big deal. It's just part of the gift of the wood, right? It gives you everything, but it's got to take something. So that's what it takes. It takes a bit of effort to keep stuff sharp. So there's no way I'm going to approach just, trimming off, I don't know what it would amount to, maybe 20 thou, something like that. Like, it's very, very slight. But that metal rim's got to get filed back. And there's no way to do it with anything other than hand tools, I'm afraid. So you can't get in there with some kind of a rotary tool and do this. I mean, okay, if I was building these wheels, I'd set it on the face and I'd have a spindle sander and I'd go in and sand this. Well, I don't have a spindle sander. So I'm going to do it with a file. It's probably just going to take about an hour to do, and it's sort of pleasurable work to go in and hand file all of that to fit. So basically, so it's perfect. Anyways, you'll never be able to see that little line on the camera, but I can touch and feel it and see it now. It's a bit about the same all the way around the wheel. So we'll just get in there with a half round file and very carefully knock it off, because I don't want to gouge the wood. If I gouge the wood, I'm going to cry. Okay, so with that, let's get to work. As I indicated, I just got in there and sanded away. I didn't end up using a half round file, but I ended up using absolutely anything I could get my hands on that could actually get the stainless sort of carefully worked off. And I was nervous the entire time I was working on this, like a single slip.
You can see there I've got some of that Durablock with some sandpaper on it to just do the final finishing bits. And then there were some little areas that, they weren't perfectly filled from the original glue up. And I had a chunk of mahogany lying around that was pretty much exactly the same color, and I just mixed up some epoxy and some sawdust from that piece of mahogany and used it as a paste filler. So you mix it up till it's about the consistency of toothpaste, and you work it into all the cracks. Once that's done, on with the first coat of clear. I shot 3 initial coats of clear. I do this with a lot of my car wood projects. I just use an automotive 2K clear. Then I let it sit. I usually let it sit for a little while, a couple of weeks to settle down, and then get in there with a little bit of wet sandpaper, sand it all back so that the grain is completely filled, and then you shoot a little bit more clear. And if you still have a grain, you go back and shoot it again. And the horn button and the wiring and the everything else has to then just go in there, and then it snaps down in place. All right. Okay, so there's the finished product. The steering wheel is now done. As always, if I wouldn't be showing it to you if I wasn't pleased with the results. So I'm happy with that. It's there is not another one like that in the world. It came right out of my crazy mind. It was a look I was going for. It's again not a unique thing at all. I was lucky enough to find someone to do the wood rim for me. Because I just simply didn't have time to do this one myself. I have done these before. It's not that complicated to do, but this particular one with the ebony inlay on the mahogany is going to very nicely match the gear shift knob that we made in a previous episode, and really does sort of dial up the look of the car, right? So we are going for something that's a little bit more classic, but again with a whole ton more power. You can get this stuff done in your garage. You really can. Again, this particular project, unlike some of my other stuff, it's not like I'm using specialized tool. It's sandpaper, it's files, it's a little bit of ingenuity. So do endeavor to try to build your dreams. That's the important part. I think these are going to be pieces that make the car unique. Anyway, thanks very much for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed the episode. Hey, give us a like. Those are always fun. Or put the comments below if you feel the need. I don't mind. I'm replying to the comments again. It's just me on the channel. Anyway, thanks for tuning in for this episode. We'll catch you on the next episode, and keep your stick on the ice. It's kind of fun. I love machining.